Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you a comparison video today between the Adidas Predator LZ2 and the Puma evoPOWER 1. This is a comparison video I thought would be interesting simply because both of these two shoes are so unique when it comes to overall feel in comparison to anything else out there on the market. And in today's video, we're going to discuss what those major differences are and what you really need to know about either of these two shoes if you were trying to decide between either the LZ2 or the evoPOWER 1. Plus, I just really think that both of these shoes deserve more attention than they're getting at this point in time. So with that being said, let's get right into the video. Starting off with the uppers, this is really the element of both the evoPOWER 1 and the LZ2 that really set both of these shoes apart from anything else out there on the market in terms of overall feel. Now, if we start off with the LZ2, it features a hybrid touch synthetic upper. Now, the hybrid touch synthetic, as you can see, is on the thinner side, but at the same time has a slight plushness and slight cushioned quality about it, as you might expect from a natural leather upper. Again, keep in mind it doesn't necessarily feel like natural leather, but there is a slightly cushioned quality about it. It's very soft, it moves naturally with your foot, and even has the slight ability to stretch after a couple hours of break-in time, making for a more comfortable fit. And of course, if you do want something that has more of a barefoot-like sensation when making touches on the ball, the SL model is also available, which features a one-piece very thin sprint skin synthetic, and that is a great shoe as well if you're looking for a slightly more lightweight option in comparison to the standard LZ2, which is already relatively lightweight. With that being said though, really the highlight of both the LZ2 and LZ2 SL is definitely the lethal zone rubberized elements scattered across the entire upper. You have 5 lethal zones in total. These rubber strips here in the midfoot make up your passing / control element. You have your sweet spot right here, your drive / shooting element right here on the instep, your first touch zone right here above the toes, and your dribble zone here on the lateral side of the forefoot. Now, as you can tell by the names of all the lethal zones provided by Adidas, it's a shoe that is geared towards shooting the ball as well as controlling the ball. Now, keep in mind this shoe is not going to improve your ability to shoot, it's not going to improve power or accuracy, and it's not going to help your first touch in any way at all. These are attributes that are down to the player and not the shoes. With that being said, the LZ2 certainly provides a very unique feel when performing these particular skills, in that it allows for a ton of additional grip on the ball. And it's something that really is going to either make or break your experience with the LZ2, and it's also why I don't recommend this shoe to everybody. If you're one of those people that tends to drag the ball when dribbling a lot, you may find that the LZ2 can feel very clingy, especially at first. It is something you can get used to because I myself am somebody that tends to drag the ball when dribbling as opposed to pushing it ahead of myself. Again, everybody has a slightly different way of doing things. But after about 6 to 10 hours of wearing the LZ2, especially this past summer, I really came to like having that additional grip. It's a very unique sensation and very noticeable when you get used to the LZ2 and go back to a shoe that doesn't have quite as much grip on the ball. I find that the extra grip really does make for that extra sense of control, especially when shooting the ball. But again, of course, it's not actually helping your accuracy. It's not helping you shoot the ball with more power. It's just a sensation that, like I said, is very unique and something you can only get at this point in time from the LZ2. So if having a lot of additional grip on the ball sounds attractive to you, there is no better option right now than the Predator LZ2. Now, starting off with the evoPOWER 1, this features 2 elements to the upper that really make this particular shoe unique. The first element is the synthetic material itself. It's brand new to the evoPOWER 1 and it's called Soleplate synthetic. You can see it's relatively thin, but at the same time it has a nice plushness about it, almost a leather-like quality as far as softness is concerned, and it feels very comfortable on foot. Not necessarily something that feels like leather, it's definitely more speed boot oriented in terms of its thickness, but like I said, it has a nice softness about it that is very unique when it comes to this style of synthetic. It's also a one-way stretch microfiber synthetic, so it's designed to stretch this way vertically as opposed to horizontally, where it's going to be a lot more stable and provide that nice lateral support when making hard cuts and turns. So because of this one-way stretch design of the synthetic material, it's going to move more naturally with your foot. It's very flexible and extremely comfortable from right out of the box, with really no break-in time required whatsoever. The second element to this upper that is very unique are the AccuFoam pads running through the main striking zone as well as across the top of the toes in the forefoot area. Now, these AccuFoam AccuFoam pads are very thin, and they're also much spongier than you might expect for those of you that have not yet seen the evoPOWER 1 in person. And basically the purpose of the AccuFoam pads is mainly down to shooting. Puma did some studies and found that having less material on your foot, a thinner upper, made for a more powerful strike on the ball, but having a little bit of additional padding made for a more accurate strike. So the Soleplate synthetic is thin by design, whereas the AccuFoam is positioned in all the main striking areas on the foot to provide that little bit of additional padding. So you're technically supposed to get the best of both worlds when it comes to power and accuracy as far as power boots are concerned. With that being said, this is not a shoe that's going to improve your accuracy. It's not going to make your shot more powerful, but the sensation that you get when making touches on the ball and striking the ball in the evoPOWER 1 is certainly unique, unlike anything else that I've personally ever worn, and feels absolutely amazing. I do have playtest videos for both the LZ2 as well as the evoPOWER 1, so if you guys want to see the shoe in action, if you don't believe me, I guess, there will be annotations on screen. But for the most part, very, very different shoes when it comes to overall feel, and it's a matter of preference whether you want to have a lot of additional grip or kind of have this blend of a barefoot feel with at the same time a little bit of padding, almost a leather-like sensation. It's very difficult to describe both of these two shoes, but trust me when I say that in terms of overall performance, they're both absolutely incredible. Next, let's talk about the sole plates and stud patterns on both the evoPOWER 1 and LZ2, because again, they're talking points and definitely unique in comparison to everything else out there at this point in time. Now with the LZ2, you're going to get a sprint frame construction, not identical to what you're going to get from the Adizero, but very similar in terms of its overall concept. It's very lightweight in that it features a thin plastic pretty much all the way through, but you have two variations of plastic, unlike the Adizero sprint frame. You have that same hard plastic through the midfoot and heel area to provide that nice solid feel in the areas that really don't need to bend all that much. And then in the forefoot area, you're going to find a slightly thicker, more rubberized type of plastic, which allows for a little bit of additional flexibility and a more natural feel overall. So for the most part, the comfort you get from the sole plate is pretty good from the LZ. But of course, if you want something a little bit more lightweight, you can get that Adizero sprint frame on the LZ2 SL. Now, as far as the stud pattern is concerned, it features that classic triangular stud pattern from Adidas. Some people love it, some people don't love it. I'm kind of in the middle. It's not my personal favorite stud pattern to use, but I don't necessarily hate using it. It's definitely more geared towards slightly softer playing surfaces in my opinion, just because the studs do have a fairly large surface area, so it takes a little bit of a softer ground for the studs to fully penetrate the ground and provide some really, really good traction. But for the most part, it's a pretty versatile stud pattern in terms of using it on most natural grass playing surfaces, and the performance is pretty good. It's definitely more of that in comparison to a conical stud pattern as opposed to a bladed one. Again, just because the studs don't penetrate the ground all that easily from what I've found. But for the most part, it will perform well, and I think that 9 out of 10 people will actually like this stud pattern quite a bit. Now with the evoPOWER 1, you have a pretty unique design with the sole plate as well as the stud pattern. The sole plate itself is made from P-backs, so it's a very, very thin plastic, especially in the forefoot area, and it features what they call the gradual stability frame. Now this support frame running through the midfoot is designed to be stable, just like what you're going to find from the sprint frame on the LZ2, but at the same time does not restrict the flexibility of the foot. And that's really one of the key design elements of the evoPOWER 1, in that it has the ability to bend back, kind of allowing you to mimic that barefoot kicking motion where your toes curl and your foot kind of curls in a little bit. This shoe is going to feel very natural and unrestrictive when it comes to striking the ball. The idea here is to get that flex back from the shoe. That's also why you have the one-way stretch microfiber synthetic material, and it is a sensation that feels good when you connect properly, but it isn't something that you're going to notice with every strike of the ball, if not very often at all. Now as far as the stud pattern is concerned, in my opinion, this is definitely a more speed boot like stud pattern, in that you do have these fairly aggressive conical studs here at the tip of the toe in the forefoot area. They're fairly narrow in profile, so they penetrate the ground really well and provide a lot of additional grip when pushing off, whereas these bladed studs here on the outside of the forefoot add for that little bit of stability when making hard lateral cuts, just because you have a larger surface area, a larger stud to push off of, and it really does perform well. And then of course you have your bladed studs in the heel for that very supportive, very stable feel when planting for a strike. So for the most part, these are both fantastic stud patterns. I really like that the evoPOWER stud pattern is so flexible, the Soleplate's so flexible, so the studs move really well with your foot no matter which way that you twist and turn. But at the same time, if you're looking for something a little bit more solid feeling, you may prefer the sprint frame on the Predator LZ2. Again, it's a matter of preference rather than saying one is better than the other just because they are so different from each other. In terms of weight, there isn't a lot separating both the evoPOWER 1 and LZ2, but with that being said, the feel that you get from the evoPOWER 1 is that of a much more lightweight shoe simply because it features a thinner upper. The upper itself is a little bit more flexible and moves more naturally with your foot, so for that reason it has more of that sock-like effect, whereas the LZ2, while it still is very, very lightweight, is a little bit more solid in terms of its overall construction, and again, it's more of a matter of preference whether you want something that feels more speed boot-like from the evoPOWER 1, or something that is still lightweight but at the same time is going to have a more structured, solid feel on feet. So I'm going to weigh both of these shoes for you today in real time. Keep in mind they're both used pairs and both the exact same size, so I'll throw on the LZ2 first, and you can see that these guys weigh in at 8.2 ounces, so very, very lightweight for a shoe that feels as solid as the LZ2 does. So we'll take that off the scale and we'll throw on the evoPOWER 1, and you can see that these guys weigh in at 7.4 ounces. So there's about 0.8 ounce difference between the evoPOWER 1 and the LZ2 in favor of the evoPOWER 1, of course. Again, if you want something a little bit more lightweight with that LZ2 vibe, the SL model is available, which is going to put the LZ in a weight range much more similar to that of the evoPOWER 1, if not even a little bit more lightweight. So that's pretty much it as far as the weigh-in portion of this video goes. And move on next to a quick on feet so you can get a better idea as to how both of these two shoes fit and what the sizing is like. Alright, here's a look at both the LZ2s and the Puma evoPOWER 1s on feet, and they're both extremely comfortable but at the same time very different in terms of overall feel. With the LZ2, I think it's a more traditional thin synthetic boot. It has a tighter fit for the most part but isn't restrictive in any way at all. Like I mentioned, once broken in, the hybrid touch synthetic does have that ability to stretch, giving it a nice natural comfortable feel on feet. But at the same time, because you do have these rubberized elements that go right to the base of the sole plate, especially in the forefoot area, there is that slight restrictiveness. So if you do have a fairly wide forefoot, this may not be the best option for you. But for the most part, in terms of width, I would say that it's going to be suitable for most foot types, just as long as you don't have excessively wide feet. It also does have a deeper fit in the heel area, a slightly more solid feel in comparison to the evoPOWER 1. In terms of the evoPOWER 1, when it comes to fit, it's very, very unique and really only compares to that of the Nike Hypervenom Phantom simply because of the incredible stretchiness of the upper itself. That one-way stretch Adapt-Lite synthetic really is extremely unique, and it gives the shoe a sensation of being much softer and much wider than it actually is. This is not an overly wide shoe, keep that in mind. It's about the same in comparison to the LZ2 in terms of overall width, but because of that stretchable synthetic material, it makes for, like I said, a much more natural, a much more sock-like feel on feet than you might expect. So it's extremely comfortable right out of the box. There really isn't much break-in time required. And again, as long as you don't have excessively wide feet, you should be able to fit in both the evoPOWER 1 and the LZ2 pretty comfortably. In terms of sizing, the LZ2 runs true to size. I'm wearing my usual size 9 US, and the fit and the length is absolutely perfect, whereas the evoPOWER 1 and Puma in general tends to run about a half size small. So instead of going with my normal size 9 US, I went up to a 9.5, and the fit and the length is absolutely perfect. So if you're going with the LZ2, stay true to size. If you're going with the evoPOWER 1, go a half size up. Alright guys, that's it for my comparison between the LZ2 and evoPOWER 1. The question everyone always likes to ask is which is my favorite of the two. And as far as synthetic soccer cleats go, I think that these are two of my personal favorites. But if I had to pick one, I think right now it would be the evoPOWER 1, simply due to the sensation that it provides when striking the ball. It's incredibly unique, and Puma did an absolutely fantastic job with this brand new release. But that's not taking away anything from the LZ2. It's a shoe that I still thoroughly enjoy wearing, and again, if you're looking for a lot of additional grip on the ball, this is definitely the way to go. They both have their own unique characteristics, and I really wouldn't say that one is better than the other. It really depends on your own personal preferences as far as whether or not the LZ2 is the right choice or the evoPOWER 1 is the right choice for yourself. So again, if you are interested in more details on either of these two shoes, I will leave some annotations on screen to other review videos that I have for both evoPOWER 1 and LZ2. There will also be links in the description to the review pages on my website where there are very long, very detailed written reviews for both of these two models. And also on those review pages you'll find buy it now links with the best prices online in all of the available colorways, along with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, so you can pick up either the LZ2 or evoPOWER 1 at discounted prices. So be sure to go ahead and check that out. If you have any questions regarding either of these two models or other comparison videos you'd like to see, be sure to leave those down below in the comments. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all of my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.